Motorcycling is still seen as a male preserve by many. Not me particularly, but it's not politically correct. But I have with me a lady, Monica Dickman, and she happens to head up the motorcycle industry. Monica, terrific show this one. Why? What's happened?
96 has been a fantastic year for motorcycling. We have seen motorcycles 20% up on the year. We've got scooters, the commuter favourite, they're 40% up on the year. And there isn't any other product market that actually can record sales figures like that.
Now I know that you're very keen on the powered two-wheeler, which is the new sort of nice name for motorcycles, and you're keen on pushing scooters and all the rest of it. Is this where you see a significant growth sector?
Yes, because the scooter and the lightweight, in fact, offers a viable commuter option. We've been lobbying very strongly this year to get the powered two-wheeler to be seen as a viable transport option.
Well, I know you're holding there the Lib Dems leaflet on motorcycling, which that was good to see. You had a lot to do with this. I know the BMF did, but you did lobbying, breakfast meetings and whatnot.
Well, yes, I think we had a little bit to do with it as well. In fact, I covered all of the party conferences this year. The Lib Deb conference was a success in as much as we had this motorcycle discussion paper launched just before the Lib Deb conference.
Right now I'm finding myself surrounded by some of the most amazingly shaped, sculpted and you name it bikes I have ever seen. Of course they are Streetfighter bikes, but I am very much in the dark when it comes to this.
People choose, myself and other people choose these kind of motorcycles because they are so different. Motorcycles are a big expression, and Streetfighter motorcycles are the most extreme expression of all.
They're as different as the individual that owns them, basically. What is this bike?
This originally is a VMAX that's been totally modified. It's got an extra fuel tank, it's got very expensive upside down forks, it's got lightweight wheels, it's been tuned, it's had nitrous oxide injection. It's totally outrageous.
It looks like it. This is fantastic. You've got to get yourself to see some street bikes, I tell you.
Some people would say the police have always used boring bikes. They use big BMWs, big reliable bikes with loads of panniers. Well, not anymore. Now they've got this. This is a police blade. So, well, you've no chance now, lads. Wayne, I've got a job for you on this one.
All right, Paul, I know what you want me for.
Ready? And we're off.
Here we are on the Suzuki stand, and behind me is the new TL1000S, the new V-twin, a Ducati competitor, or Suzuki will probably say a Ducati beta. I have with me Martin Ogborne, their technical services manager. He's not just the guy for the bikes though, he's ATVs, water sports and God knows what else. I don't know if it's actually water sports, but at least the vehicles that go on it, yeah?
Yeah, that's true.
Martin, tell me about the TL. Why the name for a start off? The L, would that be for the 90-degree V-twin?
Yeah, that's the reason why they call it, where the L comes from. It's to designate a 90-degree crank angle and actual engine cylinder angle.
And it's twin overhead cam and fuel injection, is that right?
Yeah, twin overhead cam, fuel injected. The reason why fuel injection was brought in is if you would run carburetors on the size of that engine, you'd be looking at 40, 44 millimetre inlet, and the complexity of having adjustments for that size carburetor would be permanent adjustment week by week. It'd be too temperature sensitive as well.
So it's loaded with electronic engine management systems as well, I presume?
Yeah, full managed. It's three-dimensional ignition timing. In other words, it takes RPM, load and butterfly position. If it was a carburetor, it would be throttle position. So it's what we call three-way dimensional ignition timing, and it's self-enrichment for cold starting. So
a simple engine layout, but very complex management then by the sound of it?
Yeah, it's actually, we've been wanting fuel injection for a long, long time because banks of carburetors look very nice but are very difficult to adjust, and as I say, on a V-twin you would have to run something like 44, 46 millimetre in throats on them, and they'd be so difficult to adjust.
Well, here we have a frame assembly in a nice plastic box, and there is the intriguing suspension unit, or rather the hydraulic unit. Tell us a bit about it then, Martin.
Yeah, well, obviously what they've decided to do is, because of space, they've separated the damper from the actual spring unit. There's two advantages of that. One is it's away from the heat of the actual engine, because mounting that directly behind one of the cylinders, it's subject to heat. By running through this system of a separate damper with vanes in it, the oil isn't aerated by a long push rod and pistons travelling through it all the time. Also, you've got a different lever system for the spring and the damper, which will normal on a normal suspension unit. It's always a compromise. You don't need, or you shouldn't have, the same link ratio for the damper as you do for the spring. It's very hard to tie them together, but this way you've actually got different lever system for the damper, different lever system for the spring. What that gives is more compliance over small bumps.
I'm at the NEC, and of course it's the largest bike show the UK has ever seen, and I'm in the Honda Hospitality Lounge. Like you do. I know where I'm better off. And with me is, I better let you say your title, Graham.
I'm Press and Public Relations Officer, Honda UK.
Okay. And who do we have here?
Tom Sanderson.
Oh, you could even be father and son.
We possibly are, yes. She's got a little bit more hair than I have, though.
I've got a few questions I want to ask you now. If you could go on a biking holiday, where would you go? Anywhere in the world?
I'd go to Florence.
You'd go to Florence?
Florence in Italy, because I went there a couple of years ago on a Honda Pan-European rally, and it was absolutely superb. They say 3/4 of the world's culture is in Europe, and 3/4 of that is in Florence. It's just such a superb place. There's lots of fantastic roads around there, and in the evening the Chianti is beautiful.
Anywhere?
Like on a touring holiday or something?
Okay, it will be Tour America with her on a Fireblade 900.
GSXR 600.
She's been thinking about this.
And with Dan, and Scotland, I think.
If you could have any bike, what would it be?
I've got it, and it's an XJR 1200.
That's convincing for you. Where would you go? I mean, if you could go on a holiday anywhere on your bike, where would it be?
Budapest, probably.
Why Budapest?
I've read a lot about it. It looks nice, and the roads out there seem nice.
Harley Davidson, Hawaii, definitely.
Who would you take with you if you could choose anyone in the world?
Oh, yeah.
What bikes are you here to see? What's your favourite bike so far, rather?
The Honda Firestorm.
Honda Firestorm. Yeah, ditto. And yourself?
Yeah, same.
It's the same. Now, if you could go anywhere on your Honda Firestorm, where would it be for a holiday?
Jamaica.
I'm here at the bargain bins. Anything you want? And they're all bargains too. Can I quickly ask you a couple of questions, like what bike, if you could have any bike, would you have?
Ducati 916.
Guess what? And if you could go anywhere in the world on it for a holiday, where would you go?
New Zealand.
Well, that is a Suzuki GSXR 750. And this is well worth a mention. This is the new GSXR 600. Now, for a long time, Honda have had the lion's share of the 600cc sports bike market with their CBR. But Suzuki have come in with this, the 600cc GSXR, a cracking bike, physically about the same size as the 750 and a bit cheaper. Well worth a look. And still on the Suzuki stand, this is the bike that won Suzuki an award for Best Value of the Year. This is the 600cc Bandit, an absolutely cracking machine, superb performer, and it's only just over £4,000.
Jim, can I just have a little word with you, please? I'll pass the microphone across to you. Is this just like racing when you have two girls in either arm?
Oh, it's a lot more fun.
This isn't like the bike you race, although similar. The panniers are rather nicer than the bike. Just tell us a little about racing next year. What are you going to do?
It's still fairly early at the moment. You know, I'm hoping maybe to ride one of these and maybe Superbike again for Suzuki.
Well, the best of luck for it, mate. All the best in '97.
Sidecars, a very acquired taste to many people, but Peter Rivers Fletcher with me here is a guy who knows all about them because he owns Squire Sidecars. Peter, a growth industry for you?
It's not exactly a huge growth industry. It's a very stable industry, and we export all over the world as well as selling in the UK.
But you've got a niche market then, die-hard enthusiasts though. This is what I've always noticed.
Die-hard enthusiasts, people who are coming back into motorcycling, who have huge bikes that they want to fall over. Families who want to keep on motorcycling when their children start to want to come with them, and that's the only way that you can do it. So we've got a very broad spectrum of customers.
And I also have with me a very attractive passenger, Diane, or should I say Gromit.
This is lovely.
You like it?
This is the first time I've ever actually sat in a sidecar. I don't know, being a rider, being a biker, it's one of those things, is usually people don't like sort of being sat in a passenger seat in a car if they're used to driving themselves. It would take a bit of getting used to, but what I'd like to know is how I could train my dog to sit still in one of these things. I would love to have my dog with me.
It's a shame we can't take this one out, but one day for one of the programmes, why not?
Let's do it.
Motorbike and sidecar, and we'll go for a trip in the country. We'll go off to Blackpool, Gromit. How about that, Gromit?
That sounds lovely.
Well, still in the world of accessories, if you want to look like Terminator, maybe this is the thing for you. Now, I've lost Wayne. Has anybody seen Wayne? Wayne? Hang on. Wayne! Wayne! Come on, Wayne!
Join us after the break for some more reports of all the Exotica and other bits and pieces that are at the International Bike Show, and I'll be out on a Buell, which to those who don't know is a great big Harley, but in street bike style. Well, welcome back, and we've got more reports for you from the 1996 International Motorcycle Show, but of course it's not all motorcycles. To ride a bike, you've got to protect yourself, and who better to advise us on that than young Wayne?
And we're on the Phoenix stand again, and now we're going to look at some RI helmets, but I must introduce you to the big man-in-chief from the Phoenix organisation, Graham Evans. Now Graham, tell me about the new entry model that you've got in the Phoenix range.
Hi Wayne, yeah, price stays the same, £199, 99p, new shape, new fit, a few new features, new ventilation. It keeps the Super ADSYS system that we've got on all the top helmets, and slightly lighter than before. This time we do have the facility for putting in the air duct on the top.
So it's everything that the big posh models are, but it's a lower cost. But you've got a new model, haven't you, in the Quantum E, some new paint jobs?
Quantum E, yeah, we've got 3 new paint jobs in the Quantum E, but the really exciting one is the Thunder, which is graphically challenging, should I say.
Carl Fogarty's helmet, Foggy's best helmet, and he's changing it next year, not for another alternative make, but for another Shark. Here it is, the RS2. This is the unpainted version, but he's negotiating as we speak for some new decals and some new fancy colours. Tell me some more, Graham. Some more models, is there? Looking forward to 97?
Absolutely. Yep, the XRS, brand new for this season. And just look at this for a trick paint job. Shows all of our top riders, Carl and the rest.
John Lewis, UK manager for Buell. What's the connection with Harley Davidson? Buell is so obviously a Harley, but it's not a Harley.
Exactly. Well, in 1993, Harley Davidson bought a 49% share of Buell to inject capital into the business, to enable Eric Buell, who was a former Harley Davidson engineer and national class road racer, to enable him to develop more innovative sports-oriented motorcycles. This one's called an M2 Cyclone. It's slightly more competitively priced than the S1 Lightning. It's a proper dual seat bike and has slightly different suspension. It's the same chassis as S1 Lightning and has the same horsepower and exciting ride, but it's just a more competitively priced model.
And this is the Harley Davidson 1200 Sportster. I'm sure it's a bike that anyone into Harleys will instantly recognise. But what you might not recognise is this one in front of me. This is the Buell, the breakaway from Harley. Same basic 1200cc engine, but with a few extra bits and pieces, like Screaming Eagle cams and light and flywheels. But not only that, it's a but also. Just look at the frame, completely different. You've never seen that on a Harley before. Belt drive, which is common to the other Harleys. Italian Marcinetti wheels, but you've got white power suspension on this. And again, I said something completely different. Just look at that shock absorber underneath the engine, and that's not even in compression. It actually expands as the suspension moves. White power upside down forks at the front. All very, very trick. In biking politics terms, this has got to be the screaming Lord Such. Now, a guy called Eric Buell is the guy behind this special, hence the name on the tank. He used to work for Harley Davidson, and he decided to make one or two specials and make, perhaps as he thought of it, better use from a Harley engine. But perhaps I shouldn't say that. Anyway, Eric started off, made one or two, sold one or two, and so he was doing okay. So Harley Davidson in '93 decided they'd buy into this new fledgling company, and they bought 49% of the company. And so it's now got the backing of Harley. And I think they're looking for things in Europe now. This is very much in the European style. If Ducati hadn't called their monster a monster, this would have to fit that bill. Now, all this fun can be yours for £8,000 or thereabouts. And if you're wondering why I'm smiling, that's because I've just been out on it. And I'm going to go out on it again. Well, what a great bike the S1 was. But I've got something slightly different in front of me, a touring version, and I've also got the man behind the Buell, Mr. Buell himself. Eric Buell, welcome to the UK.
Thank you.
Is this your first time over here?
Oh no, I've been to the UK quite a few times.
Have you? Can you tell me something about the Buell concept? What was behind it? You started, is it wrong to say you started as a special builder?
No, that's really correct. That's what I did start doing back in 1984.
Is that when you worked for Harley?
I left Harley in 1984 and started a business because I came from a sport bike background. I've been there as an engineer for 5 years.
And you thought, I could make a good sports bike out of one of these big lumps, and you did?
Yeah, that's right.
Right. So how have things developed over time? I mean, did you start off with your own frame?
Yes, I originally started with a Harley-Davidson engine that I purchased and built a one-off frame for the very first bike, and then I started building them for a couple of people to order. Then I started a business to sell them through dealers out of my garage, you know, one of those typical.
No, it sounds good, and it's the way lots of things have started. And this aggressive stance, I mean, you didn't go for the road racer look. It's this Streetfighter, it's called in the UK. I don't know why it's called that in the States, but this aggressive, you know, it's all action stuff. Was that your idea from the beginning?
Well, our very first bikes weren't that way, but when we wanted to do a real performance bike with the new company, once Harley-Davidson had got involved and we were really growing, I thought that was a perfect bike to do.
I'm in the ring again, but this time I'm not gladiating and I'm not boxing, because I couldn't do that if you paid me to. But I'm with Jim Reynolds, and Jim, apparently, he's going to kill me with this, knows all there is to know about the history of motorbikes. Where do I start? And basically, where did you start?
When did I start? Oh, a long, long time ago, but not as long ago as this one. This is one of the very first British motorcycles made in 1896. What we're doing here is celebrating 100 years of British motorcycles from 1896 to 1996. Immediately after the war, and I do remember that very well, immediately after they were very, very simple and fundamental, because they were hang-overs from the 1930s, when everything was bought for simplicity, and Mr. Jones, Mr. Average, maintained it himself, so it had to be simple for him. Now today you buy extremely complex, very refined, high-performance motorcycles which have to be maintained by technical experts. If you don't, you get in trouble with them.
Can you imagine that? Just think about that. Half of us being taxed so much we ride cars. How much money would that be? £2,000 a piece? £500 a piece? But that's not only it, because there's about 4 directives which are going to seriously affect every business in here and every motorcyclist. So my message is, if you're not a MAG or BMF member yet, then for God's sake join now.
There's a serious side to motorcycling as well, of course, and Simon Millward of the FEM, he made an announcement on the AWOL stand about taxation rules in Europe which are going to come in, and I'd like to ask Simon about that. I've also got with me Tom Waterer of the Motorcycle Industry Association. He's the Executive Director. Simon, what was all this about?
Well, Jeff, what that was, in fact, there's a green paper by DG11, the Environment section of the Commission. In fact, it's DG7. So there's a green paper by the Transport section of the Commission looking into fair and efficient transport pricing, it's called. Basically, they made a lot of their assertions on a report done in France by the OECD, which came up with the fact that for every kilometre travelled by a bike, there's a 73 French centimes deficit, which is about 8 pence per kilometre travelled. And the subsequent proposal by this organisation was that bikers should be taxed enough to push 50% of them into cars. And of course that's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, all the businesses we see here today are going to lose out because of that. And of course bikers will be pushed into cars. We can't entertain that at all. It's not an actual official proposal at the moment, but that was the background to the green paper. So we'll be working like mad, you know, with the motorcycle industry as well to make sure that doesn't become an official proposal.
Yes, Tom, this must be bad news for you as well.
Yes, we are. The association is in the business of putting powered two-wheelers on the political transport agenda, and this of course runs totally counter to that. Motorcycles, scooters and mopeds are at the moment being ignored as one of the solutions to urban congestion. Clearly this is not going to help us.
We're here now in the trade centre where all the business people sell to shop owners like my very self. And this is Alpine Marketing's little bit. This is what, if you wear a jacket on your bike, because if you don't you get bloody cold, this is what you should have underneath it. Everybody should be wearing this stuff. C approved body armour. It comes in shoulder pieces, it comes in elbow pieces, it comes as a back protector, or you can even buy it as a complete and utter jacket. This thing you got down here looks very peculiar, but when you've got it on underneath a coat, doesn't matter whether it's a light denim coat or whether it's a proper protective coat or a jacket, this thing will protect you. It's got the body armour in the shoulders, it'll be in the elbows and in the back piece as well. And not only can you get that, you can go the whole hog and get a proper race back. And when you see these road racers hitting the deck, brushing themselves down, walking away from a major incident, this is why, because they wear sensible stuff like this.
Well, I'm sure you realise we've had an absolutely fantastic time at the show, but if you didn't manage to make it, no worries. We've got 10 copies of a video to give away, and this is it. And all you have to do to win yourself a copy is answer this simple question. How long have motorcycles been around? Is it A, 50 years, B, 75 years, or C, 100 years? And all you need to do then is put your answers on a postcard to 2 Wheels Better, Granada Sky Broadcasting, Key Street, Manchester. Well, next week it's back to sort of normal. That's if ever things are normal on 2 Wheels Better. But we're going to leave you now with some closing images from this year's International Motorcycle Show.